And this is what he said.
My stance on launch angle, and I know it's been a subject recently, where it's just one thing. The hitters are just doing one thing, and that's why they're hitting more home runs, they're producing more runs, they're better hitters overall, they're making more money, better things are happening. But for me, I don't think we're telling the entire story. And I think a lot of the players that have made the change in their hitting style, from more of a line drive, gap-to-gap approach to attempting more fly balls and benefiting from it, I don't think we've told the story about how complete they are as hitters. The guys, some of my favorite hitters, Josh Donaldson, I think, was on the show. He was talking about, hey, if your coach tells you to hit a ground ball, ignore him, sort of thing. You know, for me, he was right about the ground ball part. I think you have to be careful for the younger players sending the message, all fly balls are good fly balls. Josh, all the other guys who become MVPs, ace hitters, you know, the best guys in the game, when I say they don't tell the whole story, these are guys when they were in high school, when they were in college, when they were in the minor leagues, when they were young in the big leagues, they could do everything. They could hit a ball on either side of the field at any trajectory you could ever ask for. You know, it's like, I liken it to a golfer. You've got a bag of clubs. You can hit the low 2-iron. You can hit the high pitching wedge. You can do anything you want at any time. You ask these guys, hey, will you one-hop the left center field wall, hit that sign in the right center gap, put the ball over the fence down the line, hit the center field wall, one-hop the center fielder, hit a short line drive to the shortstop or the second baseman. They can do anything they want at any time. And I think that's the story we're not telling the younger players. We're not telling the players on the come-up in college. The female softball players that are tuning in and thinking that's the way you do it. For me, I think that we have to send the message, the best hitters can do everything. You know, the best hitter in the game is Mike Trout. If you ask him to do anything, he can do it. I bet you could ask him to one-hop the second baseman, hit a ball to the left center field wall, and then hit a pop-up. And he could probably hit a pop-up in the infield. And for me, that tells me that he has a diverse array of skills, and when the game asks him to hit a fly ball or to ask him to hit a line drive, he can do it. He can handle any situation in a Major League Baseball game.
Mike Trout strikes out. You think he's the best hitter in baseball. And
right.
We don't care. Like, the sport, the industry, we don't care about strikeouts. Why is it you care about strikeouts?
Well, I wanted to hit, I occasionally set a goal. And last year I wanted to hit like 350 or 370, and the math said you have to strike out a good bit less. And so I was like, all right, well, let me give this a go. A few years ago, I tried to get on base half the time, and it was kind of the same thing. I had to make a few changes, and I came up short on both of those goals, but I did okay.
You choke up, though. You are a slugger that chokes up. We see Anthony Rizzo doing it now.
Yeah.
Did that help you not strike out? Was that one of the adjustments you made?
Definitely. It's led to a little bit softer contact at times, but it's also led to, potentially keeping in a back going, fouling off a tough pitch. A lot of these guys are just so difficult to face nowadays that they do require, they make that tough pitch on an edge or up in the zone, and fouling it off buys you another potential pitch in the middle of the plate. So it's really hard for me to do that at the end of the bat.
One more question for you. One of my favorite stats on you is in the last 40 years, you have the highest batting average in the first inning. I talked to so many of these guys, and when you're 0 for 2, you press in that third at bat because you don't want an 0 for day. But when you start your games with momentum by having a good first AB, how important is that for you?
I'd be lying if it didn't help. I think every hitter wants to start their game off well, whether it's through a walk or a line drive, a home run, start the game off well. But I will say, as I've gotten older, I think I've bought less into that hype and separated each at bat as if they're their own thing. That's all part of the process. So.
One more thing. I got a 6-year-old boy at home.
Sure.
What's the number one thing you would teach him about hitting?
Number one thing. Let the ball be your feedback. So oftentimes we spend a ton of time on the swing mechanics and how we look in our stance and where our eyes are and all of this stuff. But the only thing that really tells you whether or not you're doing the right things at the plate are whether or not the ball is going straight, whether it's a fly ball, straight fly ball, a straight line drive, a straight one hopper in the infield, and whether or not it's four seam. So I feel like a lot of the best hitters, whenever they practice or whenever they hit their best bullet, it's a ball that's on a line and it's a ball that has backspin. So every time I'm practicing, every time I've watched the very best hitters in the game practice, you know, I was lucky I got to watch Pujols on a consistent basis. When he was in the Central, he was a dream come true to watch, whether in practice or in the game. Every ball he hit was on this perfect line with this perfect backspin. And to me, he had this big spread out stance, this kind of awkward posture up top. But then when he delivered the barrel and the ball shot off, it was like hitting perfection. It was exactly what you're looking for. And if I were to talk to any young hitter, it's watch the ball come off your bat. Just because you hit the ball in a long way doesn't mean you necessarily did the right thing. But if you can pop straight line drives with good backspin, I think good things happen.
I'm telling you right now, something good just happened. So many kids were glued to the television screen, listening to every word that just came out of your mouth. That was amazing. Joey Votto, thanks for the time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So about the kids. That's it.